Good morning, my dear children. Today we are going to learn about the structure of spinal cord. Last day we learned about the protection of spinal cord. We know that the spinal cord is the continuation of the medulla oblongata, and this part is very important part like a brain. Now we can see the structure of spinal cord. All of you look in the picture that given in your textbook. Here in this picture you can see brain and spinal cord. Spinal cord is protected in the vertebral column, and here you can see arrangement of spinal cord in pairs. 31 pairs of spinal nerves are present in the spinal cord. Here in one side 31 spinal nerves, other side also 31 spinal nerves. Then total number of spinal nerve is 62. That means 31 pair. And these are connected to the body parts through the spinal nerve. We learned that brain is connected to the outer part of our body through the cranial nerves. Spinal cord is connected to our body parts through the spinal nerves. Here you can see the cross section of the spinal cord. Here one spinal cord and one spinal nerve, and here another spinal nerve. This is spinal cord. And one spinal nerve is made up of two parts. They are dorsal root and ventral root. This dorsal root is connected to the outer part of our body. That means sense organs and other parts of the body. Then from the sense organs and other parts of the body, messages are transmitted through this dorsal root, and these impulses are sensory impulse that arise from the sense organ. So that type of impulse is sensory impulse. Then these sensory impulses reaches in the spinal cord through the dorsal root. Then after some processing works, again some messages forms, and these messages are called motor impulses. Then motor impulses from the spinal cord goes out through the ventral root. Then dorsal root is connected to the outer part of the body, and ventral root is connected to the inner part of the body. That is, it is connected to the spinal cord. Then after that you can see two colors. Here outer part is made up of white matter. That means it made up of myelinated axons. And inner part is made up of grey matter. That means it is made up of cell body and non-myelinated axon. But in the case of brain, you can see this grey matter is outside and white matter is inside. But here grey matter is inside and white matter outside. That is one difference. After this, we are going to study about reflex actions. Reflex actions means sudden actions taking place in our body. In some cases, some responses taking place in our body, but it is not in our control. That means it is involuntary actions. These type of involuntary actions are called reflex actions. Reflex actions sometimes reaches in the spinal cord. For example, when you sit on a pin, what is your response? You cannot sit on that pin. Suddenly you will stand from there. Okay, that is a sudden response. This type of actions are called reflex actions. Reflex actions sometimes that impulses reaches in the spinal cord only. For example, when you touch on a hot object, suddenly you withdraw your hand. That is another example for reflex action. These type of reflexes are called spinal reflex. But another example is given in your textbook. When you see a sharp light, suddenly you will blink your eyes like this. That means that impulses reaches only in the brain, not reaches in the spinal cord, and response forms from the brain. That type of reflexes are called cerebral reflexes. Then reflexes are of two types. They are spinal reflexes and cerebral reflex. In spinal reflex, response taking action taken from the spinal cord, but in the cerebral reflex, that involuntary actions taken from the brain, that is cerebral reflex. In your textbook you can see the pathway of this type of reflex action. All of you look in your textbook. Here what you can see, one burning candle. Then that heat is the stimulus. When you touch in this burning candle, what happens? One impulse forms from your sense organ. Here it is a sense organ. Skin is the sense organ. Then one nerve cell is there, that is receptor cell. When you touch on this burning candle, then impulse forms. After that, this impulse carries to the spinal cord through one neuron called sensory neuron. We learned that three types of neuron: sensory neuron, motor neuron and interneuron. Then it reaches in the interneuron. Inter means between. One neuron is present in between sensory neuron and motor neuron. Then that impulses through the sensory neuron reaches in the interneuron, and this interneuron generates quick response, and this impulse formed as a result of this interneurons. Interneuron, when it reaches in the interneuron, that message carried to the body parts through the motor neuron. Then as a result of this, impulses reaches in the muscle. What is your response? Withdraws the hand by the action of the muscle. This is the pathway of impulses in a reflex action. That means here spinal reflex. This is example for spinal reflex. That means it is not moving to the brain. It reaches only in the spinal cord, and sudden response taking place by the body parts. Thank you. Have a nice day.